Alyssa, welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored that you asked me to be here, honestly. Like, when you reached out, I was like, "Me? But what will I talk about?"
I thought
Well,
that
I
was
have to answer
hilarious.
genuine, though. I was like,
You literally said, "What do you want to talk about?" I'm like, "You're kidding, right?" I'm
"I
like,
don't
"Let's
know."
start with you were engaged less than a year ago to someone else, and now you're married
Yeah.
to someone else." There's a full story in between there.
It's a very, yeah, it's it's been so crazy. It's just been absolutely wild and totally unexpected and out of the blue, but also the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I know, the
So,
world works mysterious ways.
it does.
Well, I found because obviously I was watching your story from afar, just like through Instagram and whatnot, and just kind of seeing
Mhm.
what was happening. And I'm
Yeah.
in a lot of these like Facebook groups of just like girls all around North America and the world and whatever. And they're just like kind of advice groups.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that I see all the time is like, oh, like I'm engaged to this guy and I don't know, I'm having second thoughts, blah, 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 blah. And I see that kind of post all the time, and
Mhm.
I remember kind of just, like, watching your story over the past year, and I'm like, "This is a topic that people really need to talk about."
I completely agree because us as women are told from a very young age that if you find a man who's nice to you, isn't like scum, isn't a criminal, doesn't have like multiple children for multiple women, then as long as he's a nice guy, yes, you should get married.
Mhm.
The logical next step is you get married, you have kids, you do all that stuff. And a lot of times then if you do have doubts or you're like unsure, it can often be like played off, well, why? What's wrong with that? Like, don't you should just be happy that you have someone.
Yep.
And, like, I you do get really caught up in that because it kinda makes you question if you're actually really feeling those feelings. That makes sense? Makes you
It
question
does.
your own validity. Yeah.
Mhm. And I have so many questions, but before we completely jump into the
Yeah.
story, if you want to give everyone just an idea of kind of what's went down in the past year and kind of what your life looked like, because I remember I saw you 2 years ago at a wedding, and yeah, you were engaged to him.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we're supposed to get married that summer or the summer after?
The summer after.
Okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
at the time I saw you a couple years ago, you were about to get married in a year, and
Yep.
from the time I saw you to now, which is basically 2 years ago, almost to the
Yeah.
day, actually, which is pretty crazy. What the hell has happened?
So, I mean, people can look at a relationship from Instagram, from Facebook, and everything looks like I'm sure everybody thought we were perfect. Oh, we've got the ring, we've got the dog, we've got the house. We're both teachers. We're living in this beautiful little rural town. We've got it all figured out, type of thing. No, not at all. I was unhappy for like way longer than I think I even wanted to believe myself. And so, yeah, we were living together. We had bought a house. We were both teaching in a small community here in Newfoundland. We got engaged on my birthday in 2019.
Mhm.
We made plans to get married on August 21st of 2020. Yes, so that would have been this past summer.
No, engaged in 2018.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes, yeah,
Thank
because
you
I
for that
saw you in
correction.
2019.
Engaged in 2018.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. It all, yeah, all
It
those
all
years, it's hard
blurs.
to like, yeah. Yeah. So we had all that planned. But what nobody knew from behind the scenes was that he had cheated on me 6 months into our relationship.
Whoa, okay,
Yeah.
we're starting with a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. I bring that up because that's where everything else kind of stemmed from. So 6 months in, there was cheating with someone that he knew. It was, anyways, ended up splitting up the other relationship that she was in. It was just a whole mess of, it was just a really sticky, messy thing. Anyway, but of course, me being like the people pleaser and the perfectionist that I am, I didn't want anyone to see that there was any flaws. So I had only told my two of my best friends at that time. One of them said, "Oh, if I were you, would like maybe stick it out and like see if you can make it work." My my best friend who's known me since I was literally a child said, "If you don't leave now, you're never going to get over this."
I knew
And
you.
she knew me. She knew
It
because
was always
I
gonna be in the back of your head.
always it was always going to be there. So that happened. We took some time apart. He moved out for a little bit. Again, I didn't tell my parents any of this because I knew when you expose those things to family, it's really hard for them to ever look past that
And
or
see
to ever
them in a
accept that
different light.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I came to my mom and my dad and my brothers and I said, "Hey, this person did this," that if we ever decide to work things out, they were never going to see him the same.
No.
So when we decided to continue things, I decided at that point that it was going to be like lock and key. No one was going to know. We're just going to try to move forward.
So let me get this straight. He cheated on you 6 months into, like, initially dating ever?
Mhm.
Okay, I wasn't sure if 6 months into the engagement, so 6 months dating
No.
ever. You guys were
Yeah,
dating for a long time before you got
we
engaged.
were. We started dating in 2016.
Yeah.
And so we got engaged about 2.5 years after we
Mhm.
initially got together. Yeah, so that happened 6 months in, which obviously nobody knew. So that
And
was a
it's
huge that
also
was a
it's
huge
6
factor.
months into dating, it's just yes, you're a little far into it, but you're still newly dating.
Mm,
So it's maybe he can change, maybe this was just a slip up, maybe it was something that
yeah,
maybe overlapped from before me, you know?
exactly. You can have a lot of excuses. You can justify it in so many ways, and that's ultimately what I did for the next year
What
and
was
a
his
half.
version of the story? You
Um,
remorseful?
extremely,
Yeah.
extremely. He came as right after it happened. He came home and he told me right away. He was super honest. I truly know, like in my heart, that he wouldn't have done that again. I
Yeah.
know that, but it's the fact that it even happened in the first place for me. I couldn't get past it. It was just like it was there. It was like everything was tarnished. Then, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. But I
So
mean, you stuck it out for a long time. This is only 6 months in, so did
mhm,
you just bury it really deeply?
I did, yeah, and I did about 2 years of therapy after that
Oh,
to
wow.
try and come to terms with it. He didn't want to do therapy, so that was ultimately his choice, but I knew that I had to do that for myself. So I saw 2 different therapists, both of whom which basically told me that either I have to practice radical acceptance, which I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Let's hear it for everyone who doesn't know what it is.
Radical acceptance is when you just accept that this thing happened, that there's nothing you can do to change it, and just it is what it is. You have to come to terms with it. It happened. You have to move on. It's just radically accepting that there's nothing you could have done differently, that there's nothing he could have done differently, that it happened. This thing happened. It sucks. It's really
Mhm.
shitty, but it happened.
Okay.
So
What
I
was
don't
your
know.
thoughts about that?
That didn't sit well with me.
No.
That wasn't what I went there to hear. I went there for someone to I think I wanted more or less reassurance. I wanted someone to say to me, "That's okay. This happens a lot. Doesn't mean that things are broken. Like, you guys can get through it." But that I never got that answer. I just got that basically either you need to accept this or you have to move on.
It almost seems a little cold.
It was cold,
Yeah.
but in hindsight, now looking back on that, the second therapist I saw, she was, like, amazing. Her coldness was also, like, I can look back now and say a lot of those things when I actually took the time to let it sink in and really take it all in, that's the stuff that motivated my decision to walk away.
Yeah.
So she was right. I just wasn't ready
Because
to
you knew
accept
deep
it.
down you couldn't radically
Oh, I
accept
knew.
it.
I knew. I knew.
But you still let a good year and a half, 2 years go and accepted an engagement. So there's some part of you that is okay with something.
Well, I think what it was for me, and we kind of spoke about this like earlier, being a Virgo,
Yeah.
the people pleasing. I think for me, ultimately, I was more afraid of the fallout of it all. I was more afraid of hurting him, letting his family down, letting my family down, the fact that we owned this house, we had this life built together. But mostly I was afraid to disappoint everybody.
That's a lot to hold on your shoulders, like, a lot. But out of
Mhm.
all that list of people, you never once said yourself, like, you were never worried about yourself.
I was never worried about me. Never. Never. I was like, "You know what? I can stick this out. I'm a strong enough person. I'll figure it out. I'll find coping strategies. I will do all the yoga, I'll do all the running, I'll do all the things that just numb my brain and take me out of that if it means that I don't have to confront people being disappointed in me."
Mm.
Which is now at age 30, I can look back on that and be like, "How did I live my life for so long in
Lose
that
a lot of
mindset?"
years.
You lose a lot of years. You miss out on so many experiences that you didn't take on or opportunities because you were so afraid of what people
Mhm.
were going to think or people are going to say or hurting other people, which of course it's good to be mindful of hurting other people. No one wants to be the person that intentionally hurts someone,
No.
but you can't put someone else before yourself. And I spent 4 years doing that.
Oh, those houses are made of glass, aren't they?
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, where do I even go from here? Um, but at the time, you still got engaged to this
I
person.
did.
So at the time, do you think things were happier? Did you think an engagement was a symbol of hope and change and like
It
a new
felt
beginning?
not necessarily new beginning, but it felt like a band-aid. And for a long time, for about a year after we got engaged, I was so focused on the wedding.
Mm.
You know what? And when I used to envision
Before you got engaged or while you were engaged?
while we were engaged,
Yeah,
so, like,
yeah.
because we were engaged then for a year and a half, so, like, for the
Yeah, yeah.
first year after we got engaged, like, I was just so hyper focused on this wedding, this big wedding. We had a very, like, big, beautiful, elaborate, expensive wedding planned, which, like, anyone who knows me, it's not really me.
So do you think you're overcompensating?
I was. I
Yeah.
was, and, like, throwing all my energy into
Making this
the
perfect.
dress, and it had to be so perfect. It was gonna be at this beautiful, like, outdoor location on this golf course, and the catering was gonna be perfect, the decorations are gonna be perfect, and just so consumed with that. But I can look back now, and when I was so focused on all that, like, dreamy plan, it wasn't because I was focused on me and him. No
Yeah.
part of that was like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to walk down the aisle and see my future husband," which
Isn't
is
that the only
so
thing you should be thinking about?
it is. It is. But I wasn't. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna marry him." But when I would think about it, I wasn't really thinking about him. I was just like,
You seemed like you liked
the
the idea of
details.
engagement and a
Mhm.
wedding,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you could have subbed him out for anyone.
Which is it, like, breaks my heart to say that because I
Do you think he felt that way?
I think that he was a lot more than I was.
Hmm.
And I say that I don't think he was fully because there were a lot of things that he wasn't willing to compromise on that you would
Like what?
if you loved someone.
If you're allowed to
Well,
say. Yeah.
the therapy, like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
counseling, very small ask for the trauma that I went through from
And you don't
everything that
think he
happened.
realized that him going to therapy would help you in this trauma? Or maybe he didn't realize, like, how traumatic it really is.
Maybe, because I don't that he's never had that happen to him,
It
so you can't
someone who
relate.
hasn't been cheated on don't get it.
No, and in every single relationship I've been in up to my marriage, I've been cheated on, every single
Yeah.
one. So when you come from that kind of
That's
background,
years of trauma.
it's years. It is. And it's years of trying to figure out what you did wrong and, like, kind of taking all that blame on yourself. So the only way that I knew how to cope with that was to go talk to somebody.
Mm.
Whereas he was kinda like, "I don't really understand why we need to involve someone else in our relationship."
Mm. That's a small town man's view.
It is, yeah.
It's a lot of people's views, really,
It
especially
is, yeah.
relationship counseling and therapy.
Yep. Mhm. And, I mean, like, he had done therapy before because he was married before me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How much
He's
older
a
is
lot
he than you?
4 years,
That's not that much older. How long was he married for?
a year.
There's a track record.
So, yeah, that all fell apart, and,
And he was single for a
um,
bit, then he met you kinda thing.
then he met me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that just kind of all well, I wouldn't say it happened quickly because we were 2.5 years before we got engaged, right?
Well, first question I wanna ask you is,
Yeah.
you mentioned before, obviously, there was probably some reasons and doubts of you calling off the engagement. Obviously, one of them is the initial cheating of initially dating. Some of them is compromising on stuff like therapy and whatnot. Is there anything else that you in hindsight, you look back and you're like, "Oh, wow, that was a bigger thing, but I kept pretending it was nothing?"
Not anything in particular like that, but what I will say is
Just
that
feeling?
I just wasn't in love with him.
Yeah.
I wasn't in love with him. And
How do you know you're not in love with someone? You just know
I don't think you know that you're not in love with someone
until you are with someone else?
until you're in love with someone else. Okay, this is like something that I don't know if you've ever read like thought catalog articles. This is
No,
gonna
what's
sound like
that?
really cheesy. So thought catalog is like it's just like a website, kind of like a blog, and like people will share like random like little articles. And a lot of them are like they're cute. It might be a little poem about like falling in love, or it might be like something about a breakup or someone talking about their trauma, whatever. Anyway, so people can just authors can share their posts on thought catalog. So back when I'm gonna say like 2019, there was one that circulated a lot on Facebook and stuff. It was a thought catalog article that said, if it's not fuck yes, then it's no. I don't
Mm.
know if you ever remember reading that.
I've read that a while ago, and I've taken that in my life through everything.
Amazing. Okay, I wish that I did when I was younger, because I can remember vividly reading that article and being angry. Being
Ooh,
angry
you were
that someone
triggered.
would I was triggered. I was like, why would somebody write that? They don't know what's really going on in everyone's relationship. They don't know. I don't like that this person's saying this. It's normal to have doubts. Like, I was very, very triggered by the article, and
Like
I didn't want
your
that to be my truth, I
Yeah,
guess.
I agree. I
So,
think that when you're super triggered by anything, like, that's a moment to look inside and be like, "What's
yeah,
going on here?"
yeah. When things got down to the wire, and when I really, really started to kind of see and know that I had to walk away,
Mhm.
that kept coming back into my brain. If it's not fuck yes, then it's no. And that is the truth.
I
That is the
agree.
truth. That is 100% like, yes, you will. It doesn't matter who you're with. You could be with the best man or woman or
On
whoever
paper.
on this planet, and they're always going to have some flaws, but you shouldn't wake up every single day doubting, should I be in this? Am I happy? Am I content? Is this what I want for myself for the rest of my life? Because that's how I felt every day from the time that he cheated on me 6 months into the relationship. Mhm.
Long time. I read something recently, and if you're making a pro cons list of the person that you're with, it's a no.
It's a no. Do you know how many pros cons lists I did?
Really? Like, actual
So
pros
many
cons list?
actual pros cons lists, because there was several times that I left and I would come in and live with my girlfriend Heather. She's a
Wow.
godsend.
Mm.
And when we were going through stuff and I was trying to figure it all out, and I can remember writing those pros and cons lists. I did it more than
That
once.
that wasn't the wake-up call, though.
No,
So what was?
I
Did you just wake up one day and just
I
finally pull
I
the
think
trigger?
I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm ready to do this.
But you were getting close to the wedding day, no?
We were I left in February.
Hmm. 2020, right before the pandemic.
7 months out from the wedding.
Okay. Okay,
Mhm.
so half and half kinda thing.
Yeah. It was, like, right when the pandemic kinda
Yeah.
started. So, I mean, I don't know for sure if this is exactly how it all panned out, but I'm wondering now if the pandemic kinda made me second guess some things too. It was like, because everything was
Now
so
you're
uncertain.
hella alone.
Mhm.
You're like, "Wait, wait, wait, bring back my, teddy bear, my comfort zone."
Exactly. And when COVID-19 first became a thing, we didn't really know how crazy it was gonna be, how severe it was gonna be, and then when things started getting shut down, because like, I moved home with my parents the week before school shut down out here. So, but things were starting to get kinda scary, and I
Mhm.
think when things started to get scary in the world, I really started to kind of reflect on. I know this might sound like so dramatic,
No,
but
don't.
if the world were to end tomorrow, or if I were to die tomorrow, am I going to be happy with what I've done up to this point? Or am I happy with what I'm living right now?
And the
I
answer
know
was
it
no?
sounds like the answer was no. So I packed up my things. I moved home to my parents' house at 29 years old, lived with my mom and dad for 4 months. And even when I first went home, I didn't fully tell them that I was
Why?
leaving. Yeah.
So what did
I
they think you were coming home for?
They thought I
They
was
just
just
thought you were in
coming
a
home
rough
for a
patch?
break. Yeah. And then when I got there, and once I got all my things out and I was in my parents' house, I got to like their craft room or like their whatever room.
Yeah.
So my brother's room is like the only, I don't have a room anymore. So,
So your
um,
your bedroom is now the craft room?
well, it's not the craft room, but it's just like the junk. Well, actually, it was my other brother's room, but you know what I mean? Like they just turn rooms into different stuff. Like his room is now the office and like it has,
So for the audience, my first boyfriend ever was Alyssa's brother. So I've been in this house for
yeah, so
many
she knows.
I basically lived there during these years. You went away for university, and I basically moved in.
Yes,
That's why I'm like,
exactly.
oh, which room is which now? Because I actually know where the rooms are.
Yeah, I just said craft room because I know a lot of parents do that. Like they
Right,
get like
right.
a craft room or something like that. It's Cody's room that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was sleeping in. So I remember I woke up this one morning in the room and I was like, I'm not going back to that house out
Wow.
there with him. So that's it. Now I have to come clean to face things when it's
But
very
you've already
vulnerable.
told your ex at this point before you moved back home, but you just hadn't told your parents yet.
Yes. Well, see, I left under the
That you
pretense
might come back.
that I might come back. But once I got
What's that
out,
conversation? Like, I don't think we should get married. I think we should
yeah,
get a
I
break.
think we should
But this is
postpone our
makeup.
wedding.
Okay, but this is not the end of the relationship. As I'm
Yes,
okay.
as of right now. But as soon as I got home, I knew it was.
Okay. I
Which
mean,
sounds really awful that like I just left but I didn't know how else to do it. I didn't know how else to leave. I was still very much in that people pleasing state, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
You were like, I need to go protect myself, but like I don't want to give you a final answer just yet.
Yes.
So I want to protect you as well.
Yes. So and by no means was I leading him on or anything like that. I was very, very
Like cold turkey,
upfront.
but
Yes. Yeah. So once I got home, I guess I was home for a week and then I decided that I wasn't going back. So this morning I woke up again in my brother's bed and just, oh God, I'm 29 years old. I'm back at my parents' house. What is happening in my life? And so I decided to tell my mom the full story, but I was like, I'm not ready to face her because I'm just in a really bad place. So I wrote everything out. I told her everything from the cheating, everything. I texted to her. I knew she was in the living room.
Alyssa,
I
poor
know.
mom.
I know. And
Just came in just so
she
upset.
was like, oh, she was heartbroken.
Yeah,
So then I went out and we both had a big cry
of
and
course.
gonna get emotional because
Okay, that's okay.
but she was like so good.
I bet. Your mom is so sweet.
She's the best. And she was just like, I remember she held me and she was like, I had no idea that any of this was happening.
Which is so hard for her to see, like, knowing that
Yeah.
you've been hurting since basically the beginning of this relationship, she had no idea.
Yeah, that was really hard for her. And I felt so bad that I kind of kept that from her.
Mhm.
But I also
Take your
knew that it
time.
was that it was the right choice at that time.
Yeah. How much shame and guilt did you have before you were going to that conversation with your mom? Like, once you tell your mom, like, there's memes about this. Once I tell my mom, there's no
Mom,
going
that's
back
it.
from
There's
this.
no going back. That goes for anything like friendships, like
Yeah.
relationships, anything. Oh, well, there was a lot. A lot.
Yeah. Because, like you said, you identify as a people-pleasing person, so you're now bringing the families into this. That's the hardest
Yeah.
part. Like, you're about to break up
That
families, and I'm sure that's
yeah.
a lot of guilt and heaviness on your shoulders.
Mhm. It is, and I didn't expect anyone to fully understand either. And my mother understood, but the rest of my family didn't understand for a long time.
What's there not to understand? I think it's maybe that's just me being naive, but it's if
Yeah.
someone's not happy and maybe that's just a generational thing for us. If you're not happy, don't stay, but
Yeah.
older generations, they're like, "You can get through this." Like, you've already
Yeah.
made
Yeah. Yeah, you've made a commitment and you follow through. And I think it's just that old-fashioned, kind of more traditional thought. But I shouldn't say that my family didn't understand, but maybe they weren't ready to accept it for a while, which was hard.
Do you and this is probably a really uncomfortable question, but do you feel that them learning this about your relationship, they can take that on as a failure for them as well? Or do you even feel like it's any type of failure? Or is there any thoughts around that?
No, I've never felt like it was a failure.
Okay, good.
It wasn't that. I think
Do you
it's
feel
not
like you invest so much time and you like it's time gone?
no.
Or neither? That's good. These are feelings that a lot of people feel, so it's good that you
Yeah.
don't feel that way.
No, I've never felt that. I don't regret 1 second of any of it.
Mhm.
Not at all. Because obviously in 4 years, there were happy times.
Of
That
course,
would
of
be,
course.
you know what I mean? But there was still always that lingering
Mhm.
doubt. It was like I always knew in my gut that it wasn't fully right.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy, but,
So what unfolded after that? There's a lot of
um,
logistics to figure out. There's a lot
yeah,
of breaks with the families. Your friends, I'm sure, are questioning things and be like, "Are you sure?" And there's probably a lot of
there
criticism.
was a lot of that. There was a lot of criticism. There was a lot of, "Are you sure you can't work it out?" And, "This seems really fast," and, "I can't believe that you're just walking away, like, why don't you just postpone it and just see what happens?" But what people don't realize is that when someone decides to leave a relationship, they've probably been sitting on that decision for, in long-term relationships, a year, if not 2.
Yep,
You don't just wake up and leave.
definitely not.
Nobody does that. I mean, unless you're completely
Psychopath.
disconnected
Yeah,
and yeah,
disconnected, like,
psychopath.
no feelings for
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah,
Most people don't wanna hurt the other person. They
of
stay
course.
for them, but that's the worst reason to stay at all.
It is, yeah, and that is how I had to kind of explain it to him at the end, was that, "Would you want me to marry you knowing that I'm not fully happy?"
What'd
And
he
he said,
say? Okay,
Of course
good.
not." Yeah.
Do you think he
No.
was shocked?
Yes and no. He
Mhm.
wasn't, like he wasn't shocked at the fact that, like, that I felt those things because he knew
Yeah.
all of that. But I think he was shocked at the fact that I decided to actually leave.
He didn't think that was an option.
I don't think so.
So his
And
world was rocked.
yeah,
Yours was what happened? You sold the house. You guys had dogs together and everything, like
he kept the house actually
okay.
because he continued to teach in that community. So he kept the house. We had cats. I decided to let him keep the cats. They were like more bonded and whatnot
Mm,
anyways. So whereas we had one dog and the dog was more attached to me.
you
So
kept the
we did
dog.
do shared thing and we would do 2 weeks and 2 weeks. But it just got to be too hard and
Mhm.
complicated. And we just decided that I would keep the dog and he would keep the cats. And like all that was super hard as well. But overall, like, logistically, we worked things out, like, really, like, civilly. There
Good.
was no yeah. It was very civil and, like, very respectful, and you know what? The thing is, like, I'm a teacher for the deaf. I
Mm.
service, like, several communities in this whole area in Newfoundland. I have to travel to his school and service students in that school.
You're gonna see
I
him,
have to see him, right?
and it's never gonna get easier.
No, no.
I'm sure, and
So
especially the type of person you are, I'm sure you see him and you just feel hurt because you feel hurt because you've hurt him, not that you feel hurt yourself.
no, I feel hurt because I hurt him or I feel like I let him down. In saying that, he's in a new relationship and I think it's a much better fit for him
Fit?
and he seems very happy. So, and I truly, honestly, from every cell in my being, I could not be happier for him,
Yeah, and I
honestly.
mean,
Because
you were checked in for so long, and yeah, it's not that fair to anyone in a relationship if you're checked out, right?
no, it's not. And it just would have ended up with a pile of resentment. At the end of the day, he made a mistake, but he's still a good man. I would say that to this day. He's a good guy. He's
Absolutely.
a good guy.
Mhm.
He has like a good heart. He just wasn't the man for me. And that's it. That's that. And that's okay. And I think that is something that is taking me like 30 years to realize that that's okay. It's okay if someone's not the person for you. It's
Mhm.
okay to hurt people sometimes. Sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
It's for the better of both persons involved. Whereas for a long time that I truly believed that it was not okay for me to put my needs first.
And I'm sure you still have many years ahead of figuring that out.
I think so, yeah.
Ugh. I wanna switch gears and talk about your new relationship. So, obviously, you're coming off an engagement that you called off and a wedding that you
Mhm.
called off. You're going into a pandemic. The last thing you're thinking about is, "I'm gonna get into a new relationship."
I it's
Hey, the
not
best relationships come out of nowhere when you're least expecting it.
I totally agree. So my husband Tyler,
Yeah.
we have known each other, grew up in the same community, went to the same schools since we were
Parties.
children.
Yeah.
Parties. He was hung out at my house. I hung out at his house. I was really good friends with his sister.
Mhm.
He's good friends with my brother. And
Never ever
I
saw him in
mean,
that way, though.
never, never, ever. Well, I can tell you this. Before I was with my ex.
Mhm.
That Christmas before that, I ran into Tyler at
Mm.
the local bar,
Okay.
and we went on a couple dates over that Christmas break, but I was not interested. Straight up, I was not
You
interested.
didn't feel it.
No, I was like, "He's too nice."
My God, isn't that what you want?
I don't know, but back then I was like, "No, he's too nice.
Too many red
Like,
flags. He's too nice.
he's too nice," right? And then that February was when I met my ex, so I think yeah. And so Tyler left our hometown right after high school. He moved away to Alberta, and he was in the military for 9 years.
I don't think I knew that, actually.
Yeah, yeah, Tyler
I
was
knew
in the
he was in
military
Alberta, but I
for
didn't know he was in military. Oh, that's very
yeah.
interesting.
Yep, so he was in the military for an extended period of time. He did some stints overseas. So Tyler never came home.
Yeah, never.
Never, ever. Like, that Christmas when I saw him was the first time I'd seen him since high school.
Mm.
So that
And you were
was
graduated university at this time?
oh, yeah,
Almost.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
working as a teacher at
Yeah.
that time. So, yeah, so he was never home, nothing like that. So, like, he was the last person I expected to find out that he was in Botwood. You know what I mean? Find out that he was in our little hometown, like, just kicking about. He's not a big social media
Yeah.
guy, so you wouldn't know, like, where he was or what he was
No.
doing or anything like that. Anyway, so, yeah, I moved home, and I very soon after found out that he was home too.
Mm.
You know how it is being in small towns.
Yeah.
Um,
I do.
they're like, "Oh, so and so's home. Did you know he's, blah, blah, blah." Anyway, so we started just, like, chatting like friends.
Mhm.
And this was like in the middle of a pandemic. So we technically weren't even supposed to be seeing each other.
No.
We're supposed to see anybody and we're supposed to leave your house. But we started spending a lot of time together and we would go for drives. We would go through drive through, get a coffee. And it was really cute. But we like instantly just found so many weird things that we had in common. Our birthdays are a day apart.
Wow. And you had no
Yeah, which is yeah, I don't know, there's a bunch of other things. There's just, like, some very weird, like,
So
coincidences.
what's different at this point? You went on a few dates with him years before and you didn't feel anything, and then you get in the car the first time he's picking you up or you're hanging out, and did you instantly feel butterflies this time?
I
Oh,
did,
yeah.
I did. I was like, "Oh my god, this is trouble because 'cause I'm not ready for this.
I
I'm
love
so
that
not
feeling.
ready."
It's the trouble
I
feeling.
was
That's what I
yeah, I
call
was
it
like, "I'm in
too.
trouble."
Yeah.
And so, for the first little while that we were seeing each other, I would say to him, and he still makes fun of it now, "You cannot tell anybody. You cannot tell anybody that we're seeing each other. I'm not ready for this. I just broke off an engagement. We cannot tell anybody." Anyway,
The image of it
again,
all,
that
like,
was
I would be
the
bothered by that
image.
too.
Yes, yeah. Well, I didn't want people to think that I had cheated on my ex. I didn't
'Cause
want that
people
to
will make
be
conclusions.
they will,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, I didn't want that, and I also knew that I did have some stuff to work on of my own, and I explained all that to him. I'm not I might not be ready for a while. I'm still, like, in a place where I'm working through these feelings. Not feelings that I still had for my ex, but just a lot of, like, trust and
Trust, guilt.
just working on
Mhm.
myself, I
Yeah.
guess. So but he was like, "Oh, it's all good." He was very patient. But about 2 weeks after we started hanging out, Tyler got really sick.
Oh.
Tyler ended up in the hospital for 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his appendix ruptured and he went septic and was very, very sick. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So, like, I when I say near death, like, I'm not kidding that he was near death. He was very,
Oh
very, very
goodness.
sick. Yeah. Like, not in this world. Yeah. So, I think when that happened too, it kind of shifted gears for him as well
Mm.
because, like, he couldn't well, it was COVID, so we couldn't even visit him in the hospital. Like, his mom couldn't visit him, nobody could visit him, like,
That's so
that was
sad.
it. He was just in the hospital for 6 weeks. So, like, texting and the communication that we had, I feel like that made him become a lot closer to me,
Mm.
if that makes sense, and
Of
appreciate that
course.
I was, like, there for him and stuff through that. But also, we kinda had that time during those 6 weeks, like, we didn't see each other.
You're developing a relationship, just communicating.
But I also had then that was my time, like, I wasn't going anywhere, I was home in my parents' house, I had nothing to do, I couldn't see friends, I couldn't do anything, So I used to walk my dog 3 times a day and go to the grocery store with my mom and watch TV, read
Pandemic life.
books. Like, I you know what I mean? But I
Giving
had a
you
lot of
time to
time.
be, like, looking within and kind of
Mhm.
like, taking time to go through all of that.
Yes, absolutely. So I
There's no
really
there's no distractions to bury it all down.
there was no distractions. There was no distractions.
No
None. I mean,
friends,
like,
no working, no anything.
no, no.
You
And
just
I
gotta
was like,
face your
all I want
shit
right now is to go to George Street and drink with my
and
girlfriends.
drink it all away. Of
Exactly.
course. Like, do that every week.
I know. So there was no distractions. So I really put a lot of thought into things. I took a lot of time to really think about what I wanted moving forward, what was important to me. And you know what? Like, I was 29, approaching 30. Not that I was in a rush to get in a relationship, but I also knew that if I met the right person, that I was ready for that.
Yeah. Well, you were ready
Even though,
before
Mhm. Even though I had just gotten out of that situation, I think because it was over for so long before it was
in your
actually
head.
over, yeah, that happened to be ready sooner than I even anticipated in myself.
And people get so caught up in timing. I like what you said where it was over in my head for a while, so was actually a lot of time in between.
It was. And like something that I've had to come to realize myself in this whole people pleasing thing that I've been tied up in for so long is that timelines in life, that's a social construct. That's made up. That's not real.
So true.
People fall in love and get married after a month and they're still married 60 years later. People date for 6 years and never get married and then break up in 5 years. There's no timeline. There's no right timing. There's no appropriate thing. It's just, it's things that we have made up in our head that, oh, maybe after 2 years is an appropriate time to get engaged and you wait a year and then you can get married. And then after that, if you break up, oh, you need at least a year before you can pursue someone else. Like all
It's so
things,
silly, isn't it?
it's made up. It's not
Uh,
real.
it's really silly. I
It
agree.
is
It
so
makes me so mad.
silly. Yeah. And like, who are we to judge what anyone else is feeling or going through? No one knows their own feelings except themselves.
And sometimes
So
we
like, who
barely
are
know
we
it
to sit
ourselves.
back and exactly? So like, who are we to sit back and say that's not the right time to do that, or like
Mm.
she can't be over that by now? You don't know.
And that's probably what you heard.
Mhm.
Talk to me about
Heard a
that.
lot of that.
When did people start learning that you were kinda together? When did you start opening up about it?
I told my closest friends right away, "We're hanging out. I don't know what's gonna come of it,
Yeah.
etcetera," and I kept them posted. But I didn't really come out on any form of, like, social media until the end of May. So I had been home since February.
That's still,
So
that's not a crazy amount of time. I mean, we were just talking about time and social contracts,
yeah,
but still not a crazy amount of time. Couple months.
no, couple months, and then
What was
I
everyone's reaction? So what was your message? Like, "I'm dating someone new," like, or just like, "We're hanging out," or just a photo of you guys,
I
or
just posted a photo on Instagram of
and
us
let
and,
the
like
town talk.
exactly. Honestly, I think I just got to a point where I was like, "I don't
Yes.
care anymore." You can say
Whatever you want.
people are gonna say what they want anyways. People are gonna talk no matter what you do.
So what did
But
you hear? It all?
owe it all that I had cheated on my ex with him and I had this all planned for months. And, I can't believe that she's moved on with someone else already. How could she do that? It's so cold. I mean, I heard it all.
To your
Heard it
face?
all. Not to my face.
Yeah.
People won't say that to your face.
Yeah.
No. They'll say it behind your back and then it gets back to you.
He'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's a shitty feeling. You're like, "I'm starting a new relationship. Get out of here."
Yeah, I know. So I did find myself kind of like closed off for a little bit then
And
from
not
like
wanting to
everyone.
express your love.
Yeah. Not wanting to share it, not wanting to post about it, feeling guilt. I felt a lot of guilt and I did feel a lot of shame. And I felt like I still felt in a sense I was still letting people down. You know what I mean? Like I was still letting my family down. I was still because I don't think that everyone in my family was even yet ready to accept someone else new,
Of course.
which I understand. I
Mhm.
do. But at the time, for me, I didn't feel very supported,
You felt
which was
alone in
really
this
hard. I
relationship.
did. Mhm.
What about your close friends? They were pretty good?
Um, they were good. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were
They
good.
know. they get what you're going through because they go through similar types of things in different capacities, so there's a
Mhm.
lot more empathy.
Yeah. Well, my closest friends, they knew. I mean, they knew because they'd heard me say so many times, like, why am I questioning things? Why do I doubt this so much? Like, I something about this doesn't feel right. Like, I'm not happy. You know what I mean? They'd heard all that. They knew.
Yeah,
But
and
to
then
them,
they
it
they weren't
wasn't
hearing
like,
that about this relationship,
no,
and I'm
not
sure
at
they can
all.
see the different light in you too. That's when you know.
Everybody can. And once people started to come to terms with it and some of the negativity and stuff passed, all that I've heard since I've left that relationship and rekindled, met Tyler and moved all that forward is you're a different person.
Mm,
You're so happy, you're smiling all the time, like I've like gained some weight, but healthy because
mm,
I think I was really struggling with a lot of anxiety surrounding the last situation. Of course, lost a lot of weight, was
of course.
not eating, not like feeling healthy. And so like now I'm just I don't know, everybody just says like I have a different I'm
And that's
different.
the best validation you can get.
Absolutely.
And after people see you and experience it themselves, it's impossible to be negative about the situation.
Exactly. It's
And you
kind
don't
of
hear
always
much
so.
negativity anymore?
No, no, not
Well,
at
I guess the
all.
next criticism, I mean, yeah, sure, you started dating really quickly someone new after an engagement, but then you get married to someone and you basically eloped.
We eloped, we did. So oh my god,
Your
so
parents are
crazy.
like, "Can you stop?
Yeah, they're like,
This is enough."
"Please don't do anything else. Don't do anything else."
They're like, "What's
So,
next?"
it's so funny because 'cause I'll, like, use that as, like, a prank, like, I texted my family over oh my god, what was it, at Christmas, like, some sort of Christmas special was coming out or something like that,
Yeah.
and so I was, like put them all in, like, a group chat, and I was like, "Hi, everyone, I have something really important to tell you,"
They
and
can't handle
they're
more.
like, "Stop it! Nothing else, nothing," and I'm like, "Oh, it's just that, yeah, there's a new Christmas movie on this year."
Oh
I'm
my
back.
goodness. So I guess there's
But
probably another round of criticism, or I guess the first thing I wanna ask you is, how do you when you know, like,
you do.
there's no timeline, let's just do
There's
this. What
no
there's no point to be engaged and dating and stuff, let's just do this.
I like, it's so crazy, like, we just, I mean, fell head over heels in love, but
Mhm.
we also are he's my
Mm.
best friend in the world. He's my favorite person, like, we do everything together, like, when he's home and he's not away working, like, we're just the best, we're the best
They're
match,
inseparable.
we're inseparable. He's my favorite person on this
And
planet.
out of all the people you've ever dated, because 'cause you've always been in relationships,
Yeah.
completely different?
Completely different,
It
like a
feels really
total
different.
180. Total 180. There's, like, the mutual trust, there's understanding, there's never, like, toxic fighting or, like, it's just easy. It's
Mm.
so easy.
It's almost so easy that you're, like,
I'm like, "Is
concerned.
this too good to be true?"
Yeah.
But no, like,
But it's
it's
interesting that you struggled with trust for so long, and now it's almost like a blind trust.
it is. It
Mm.
is, which is it's so crazy. So crazy. We fell crazy in love with each other. We spent all of our time together. It was also in the middle of a pandemic, so we couldn't really go places or see anyone else. And then, well, it was August. We traveled to the West Coast to visit some of my family out there. And so we got to meet like my aunts and uncles and my cousins and stuff,
Cute.
which was awesome. We had a great time. And on the drive back, he was like, I want to marry you. I don't want to wait. I don't see why we have to wait. Like, it's just because people think that there's a certain timeline on things. Like, he's like, I can't imagine my life without you. And I genuinely felt the same way. There wasn't one part of me that felt scared about any of that or unsure or
There was no questioning.
there was no question at all. So he said, well, and I was like, I don't really want to do like a big wedding anyways. I've
Mm.
been through all that. So he just said, "Well, like if I got a ring and if I proposed, would you say yes?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I like kind of showed him some things that I liked and he ordered a ring and it
Wow.
came. He proposed to me in my kitchen of my little basement apartment
Cute.
and we just decided to get married on his birthday. And we did.
Cute.
We just went outdoors, we hired a marriage commissioner, and we just got married in, like, the most intimate ceremony
I
ever,
thought it was
just
beautiful.
in
Like, the
our
photos that
dogs.
you shared, I thought they were stunning.
it
It's
was
exactly what you
so
wanted.
lovely. Yeah,
So funny
perfect.
you spent so long planning a wedding that you never ever
Mhm,
wanted, and then you do the absolute opposite.
mhm.
You didn't even wear a white dress.
I didn't, I wore a green dress. I was
Yeah,
like,
and I love it. Who
"I don't need to
cares?
wear a white dress.
What's
That's all
like
made up too."
yeah, like, who cares?
I know, but anyone who's gonna listen to this podcast or who is, like, wondering if you will know when it's the right person, I can tell you that you will know.
And if you're questioning it's not?
If you're questioning, it's not. I genuinely believe that, and I do still feel like you can't speak to every situation because, of course, there's people who question everything, it's just their
Yeah.
personality. But if you have a feeling in your gut, like, you need to trust that feeling. You
Mhm.
need to believe that that is trying to lead you to something that is meant for you.
Mm. And do you think you can grow into that feeling? The feeling of this is the one, like, this is meant to be? Or do you think it's an
May
instant, I should know right away?
No, I think you could absolutely
Yeah.
grow into it, yeah.
As long as you don't have the other thought of doubting
Of
it and questioning it.
Yes, yeah, I
But
do
I
think
think I
that.
think a real love can grow and be a slow burn
I
as well.
agree 100%, and, like, some people, it just is your personality type too, like a slow burn, like, they need that time, and
Well, I mean, it's a great comparison. The first time you went on a couple dates with Tyler, you were like, "No." And then you rekindled and you felt those butterflies
yeah,
instantly. And because
instantly.
it's like, I truly believe in divine timing, and, like, the universe was trying to put you guys together, and you
It
just weren't
was.
having any of it. But the universe also was like, "Okay, well, if she's not gonna go with this, let's teach her a couple lessons first, and we'll
Yeah,
come back around."
yeah, I totally agree, and I can see that now, and that's what I mean, just the timing of it all is just so freaky. It was like, how did we end up both back in the same place at the same time? It doesn't even make sense.
And my favorite part about the whole story, it's like you've dated guys like all across the island, like different people. I think you're similar to me. Like before Tyler, did you ever date anyone in Botwood?
No,
No, I've never dated anyone
never.
from Grand Falls.
No.
I choose to date in Botwood.
Right, exactly, and I dated guys in Great Falls, so
Exactly. I don't even know any guys in Grand Falls. I'm just kidding.
but, yeah,
But
so
it's
I
funny. It's
never
like you
dated
come all the way
anyone from
back to
home.
someone that you've known since you were a child.
Child, yeah.
It's so weird.
Which I think made the process different too, because we never had to go through that awkwardness of, "Oh, these are my parents and this is my family."
Exactly.
It was like when he told his sister that it was me who he was seeing, she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy." And, like, then I became so close again with his sister who, like,
Yeah.
I've known forever, and his parents just accepted me because they know me, and, like,
You know, your
same thing with
family.
yeah, exactly. So it was just, like, it was so easy. There was none of that, like, preemptive stuff that you have to do when you,
And they
like,
have to
just
get
meet
to
someone
know
brand
you and
new.
stuff.
Yeah, there was none of that. It was just like, okay, we're here and we know each other. We know what each other's all about. We know each other's family. We both just kind of felt like we had been through a lot
Mm.
and that it wasn't something that we wanted to wait to do, if that makes sense.
I wanna give some weight to the work that Tyler does. That always makes you realize, like, time is of the essence. Like, if I
It
wanna do
does.
something, like, let's do it today. There's no
Yeah,
waiting. There might not be a
no,
tomorrow.
there might not be a tomorrow. Exactly.
And especially when you
So,
started hanging out again, he went through another situation like that.
yeah, we knew.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
it is because it's the most, like, genuine, when you do see, like, those relationships that look perfect on Instagram, look
They're
perfect
not.
everywhere else, they're not. And,
Absolutely not.
I mean, mine might still look like that from the outside.
You're
Oh,
like,
like,
"It
we
is
only
right
have
now."
a but it is. There's not
Yeah.
one thing about it that is, like, disingenuous, like,
Mm.
it is truly as good as it looks. There's not one thing that I would change about
And
him,
it's
and I think
different a feeling when you're posting about you guys now because it's a more genuine feeling.
it's so much more
Then
genuine.
because I think a lot of couples post each other because they feel obligated, and it's if
Mhm.
you felt forced in this photo, like, why post it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, it's not
No,
genuine.
it's not genuine, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like everything it was too coincidental to be anything but like the universe just totally trying to align us.
I love it. I love it so much. So what's next? The wedding is next year?
Well,
Or are you doing it this
so
year?
we're doing it this year. So
Okay.
I know we eloped, but our families of course want to
Still
like
wanna
have
do
a
something.
of course.
Yeah.
That's I'm the only girl and Tyler's the only boy. So it's like,
Mm.
of course our families want to see that and take part in a celebration for us. So We're having our family and friends, and we're gonna do a renewal of our vows and have a party.
Fine.
That's all we
When?
really care about is the
On the
party.
first year anniversary, or what are you thinking?
We wanted to do the first year anniversary, but it didn't line up with parents'
Yeah.
work schedules and stuff, so we're doing it actually in 2 weeks.
Oh my god.
July 10th.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Oh, it's so
So,
fun. You're
yeah, it's
ready?
very
Are you gonna do
exciting.
the traditional white dress?
Yeah, it's like an ivory. Well, it's called almond.
Your mom
Eh,
wants you in that
yeah,
real
and, it's a
traditional.
beautiful dress,
Yeah.
and, so I am doing some of the traditional aspects just for, like, the renewal ceremony, but, everything else I think is gonna be very non-traditional. We're having, like, a barbecue,
Fun.
and yeah, we're just having
I prefer your way of doing it way more.
right?
It
You
seems
know,
less
and that's, like
stressful.
that's what a lot of my girlfriends have said now. They're like, "We're just seeing that, you know what, you can do whatever the fuck you
Whatever
want.
you want.
You can do whatever you want. You
And
don't have to do what
you're
people
shining a
expect
light
or."
for a lot of people. The people who, similar to you, never ever wanted the big wedding, but felt
No.
obligated because that's what
Yeah,
everyone's doing. Maybe they didn't
yes.
wanna wear a white dress. Maybe they don't like the color white, you know?
Exactly. So, you know what? Like, advice for any woman listening to this, or any man, anybody,
Mm.
you can do whatever you want. If you want to, like, have an elopement with just you and your partner and then go just have a big party somewhere, like, you can do that. There's no limits on these things. You're gonna be met with criticism no matter what you decide to do.
And everyone
No
has an
matter
opinion.
what. Yeah.
My
So,
goodness.
you're just as well to do whatever you want at the end of the day.
One of the last few questions I have for you, in hindsight of everything, to your previous engagement, to your now current marriage, just what are your views on engagement, marriages, relationships? What has changed? What did you view before and what do you view
Mhm.
now?
I think before I was more or less viewing the relationship and like marriage and stuff as like the next step. Now to me, marriage is it's so much more than that. I guess I'm feeling more connected to the idea of this is your lifelong partner. This is the person that I'm gonna get old with and spend forever with. So if you're planning a wedding and all you're focused on is your decorations and oh the big shiny ring and
Ugh,
like honey it's all wrong. You got it all wrong because that's not what it's about. It's about the moment when you get to commit your life to someone else. As like cheesy as that sounds,
no, it's
that is what it is. And it's so beautiful when you find the right person. I can't even explain it to you because I'm still on such a high. Like he's been away at work for a couple weeks and he gets home in 9 days and we're just like, oh, like we
excited.
can't wait. Like I'm so excited every time I get to see him. And so if you don't have all that, if you're not having butterflies like 10 out of 10, excited and like happy with each other and having fun and like able to truly be yourself because that's another big part that I was not able to do in my last relationship. I was never able to fully be myself. I just never had that comfort level. Then it's not right. Your body will have ways of telling you that.
What do you mean?
You feel it in your gut.
Yeah.
If you're constantly playing over, think about how many thoughts you have in a day. And if you're having like the same thoughts like over and over and they're repetitive and like playing over and over in your mind, it's for a reason. Like your body is telling you something. Or, you know, if you get sick and you lose weight and you know what I mean? Like, cause I was very like unwell and just not
Mhm.
healthy. And I think it's because I just wasn't being true to what I don't know what was supposed to happen for me, I guess.
Wow. Your body plus the universe plus your intuition, they're gonna
Mhm.
keep trying to tell you, and the nudges are gonna get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yep. And then eventually you can't ignore it anymore. But just maybe try not to push it down so much. Just listen like the first time.
I know. Alyssa, this was fantastic. I feel like this
Oh,
gave you a
thank
really good
you.
time to just hash it all out. Do you feel like you've
Mhm.
said everything that you wanna say? If someone's feeling the same way you are, or there's also a lot of people our age that are settling and are just always wanting to be in a relationship, you
Mhm.
know? And it's like there's someone out there for you. There's some truth into
There
waiting.
there is some truth in waiting, and there's also truth in just being okay with being alone too.
Mm,
Because it almost seems like when you're not looking for it is kind of when it just kind of slaps you in the face. And then
always.
you're like, oh my God, like what is going on? But I don't know. I feel like you need to give yourself credit for the thoughts that are happening. You need to trust in your own validity. So if you're feeling something, you're feeling it for a reason. There's validity to that. That there's a reason why you're thinking that. and just trust it because, like I said, it's just your body or your brain is trying to tell you something. So don't push that stuff down and don't push it away. Or like, it's really easy for people who have other like mental health concerns, like me. I live with generalized anxiety disorder to think that, oh, it's just my anxiety. That's just my
Mm,
anxiety talking. So easy to push it off on something like that. But it's likely it's not. It's truly just your body trying to tell you what is meant for you and what's not.
mm.
So I think you just need to trust your intuition. It's a real thing. And I was someone who didn't believe that for a long time. I just kind of thought that was all like hippy dippy garbage. But, you know,
It's
now
it's real.
it's real. It's so real. And there is someone out there for everybody. I truly believe that. And the universe is going to put obstacles and like the right people and the wrong people in your path for a reason. And yeah, you just have to trust it and don't be afraid to disappoint people.
Mm,
'Cause that's what kept me in the situation I was in for so long.
amen
So
to
afraid of
that.
letting people down. And the biggest disservice you can do to yourself is to disappoint yourself to please others. That's all
Alyssa,
I would
there's
say.
no perfect way to end off that because that's something that everyone struggles with throughout their
Mhm.
life, throughout their
Yeah,
week, probably at least once a week. I know I do a
absolutely.
lot trying to
Mhm.
make everyone happy, but yeah, Alyssa, you've been through some crazy rides
Yeah.
the past couple
It
years.
it's been a crazy year, but like in the absolute best way. I wouldn't change any of it.
I know. Alyssa, thank you so much for being
Thank
on here. I know your
you.
story is going to resonate with a lot of people. I don't think you realize how many people this is going to resonate with, but I think you're going to be
Oh,
really thankful when it gets posted and you
yeah.
start hearing everyone's comments about it. So thank you
Oh,
so
I'm
much for
so
your time. It's been a
excited.
pleasure.
Thank you so much. Like, I'm so honored that you decided to have me and I get a chance to share this story. And like, I hope even if one person sits back and is like, oh shit, I need to act on what I'm feeling, like, then that's
It's a
amazing.
win.
That's a win. Yeah.
I agree. Thanks, girly.
Thank you.